Good morning, everybody. I'm at the Boys and Girls Club today, and joining me today is Kristyn Weaver. Nice. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for being here.
Nice. Well, we're always happy to get kind of out and about in Brookings and kind of look at all those things, and I think that people don't realize the amazing kind of art that's happening at the Boys and Girls Club. So what is your title here?
I am the 1st through 3rd grade director,
Okay.
so I'm in charge of the little guys.
And we were talking, how many students do you see a day-ish?
Around 250, 300. Wednesdays are real busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which seems like a lot of students
lot.
in Brookings.
Yeah.
But and you're getting the younger kids,
Uh-huh.
but you also have a coordinator here that kind of hits the older ones.
Yep, we have 4th and 5th. We have a ECE, which is preschool kindergarten, and then we have a teen center right across the street.
So what do you kind of do besides kids wrangling here at the club?
Well, I manage staff, so I have some lead staff underneath me, and then they have more specialized areas that they write the programs for, and they manage the part-time, like the YDS, Youth Development Specialist staff.
Okay. So I asked Kristy today because not only does she do all these amazing things for these kids here at the club, but she is an actual professional artist as well. So tell me a little bit about the work that you do creatively as a professional.
I make sculptures and drawings mostly.
Okay.
I make works that they're not really commercially viable, I would say, except
That's
like
okay.
sculptures.
Sure.
They're kind of big foam sculptures. I think
Okay.
the last foam piece I did is a giant pink foam pile with an overturned chair.
Okay.
So it's kind of big, not really something you put on a shelf.
That was at Grove Hall, right? It was
Yeah,
on display
that one's been displayed at the museum here in town.
Okay.
And then my drawings are cat drawings.
Okay. Okay, that's okay.
So
Yeah.
I like to draw. I had a catharsis in grad school, like, I want to spend time with these. I have to spend so much time with them
Sure.
because I do photorealistic drawings.
Okay.
So I spend a lot of time doing them. I should spend time with something that's fun and
Absolutely.
enjoy. And I get a pretty good response from them. I mean, everybody.
And so what's your background as an artist? Like, where did you study to?
I went to the university. I went to UT Austin for my undergrad, where I got a BFA, and then I went to Washington State, where I got my MFA.
Okay. And you've been in Brookings, it's been a while?
It's been a while. My husband got a job here at SDSU teaching, and then I came up here with him, and I taught at the university. I still sporadically teach at the university when they have things that work with my schedule here.
Sure.
And then I think it's been 8 years.
Okay.
That's too much.
No, gosh.
A while.
I have to think too, like back on, like, and I'm just like, we've been here how long?
Yeah.
So yeah. So what inspired you to go into art?
Well, I think it was something that my father was an artist, or is an artist. He doesn't really make stuff anymore. But it was something that he enjoyed, so he saw the value in it, so it was never one of those, kind of things that was like, oh, get a real job. So it was something that he enjoyed and he saw value in, so I, was encouraged to do it, and it was something that I really enjoyed, and it was something that I, again, like to spend my time doing, so why not pursue it?
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people have the misconception that it's like, to have a career in the arts or to be involved in the arts, like you just have to be a professional artist that supports himself by making things, and and that's the way it rolls out, whereas that was never really
Well, I think I talked to, and I can't even remember, another artist, maybe it was Mark last week, about art degrees in general. Like there's not a lot of artists out there, like that's all they do.
Yeah,
like
not a lot
They sell a painting and they're able to live off that. They're doing other things, whether it's coordinating programs and or they're teachers or doing something else. And how up and coming artists or people that want to go in the arts don't necessarily have to think of it as like, I have to make a living off of this.
Exactly.
I can do other things, but still love to create art as well. So, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, who do you look to now for kind of inspiration?
Let's see. Inspiration for my personal artwork. I think back when I was in grad school and in school, you had to get like art magazines to
Okay.
see other people's. I'm really inspired by other people's work, and
Okay.
I find myself seeing stuff all the time, like, oh, why didn't I make that? So, so that's where I get a lot of like encouragement, where I'm just kind of fired up because I see stuff that other people are making.
Okay.
And that used to only come in art magazines, like when I was in grad school, like Sculpture Magazine and stuff like that. But like luckily now, people can put their stuff out there.
Right.
Like Instagram is a huge influence for
Absolutely.
me, because people can put it out there without it already being deemed like, this art is good. It's just like, hey, here's what I'm making. Look at it.
Right.
And so I look at a lot of stuff on Instagram. I have like huge
I
files of stuff of other artists that I've seen where I'm just like, oh, that's amazing. And
feel like half of my Instagram accounts are just like, oh man, I wish I owned that, or I thought
Yes.
about doing that,
Yep.
or how do I get that kind of item?
Mhm.
Just because social media in general, just internet, has opened up the world to artists, where it's like you said, it doesn't have to be critiques professional,
Yeah.
people that say this is good. It can be
Yeah.
everyone that's just creating.
I can decide if it's good or not.
Absolutely. Maybe I don't like what's in that magazine, and
That's
I
true.
have a different taste.
Well, I think that sometimes those like Sculpture Magazine, at least back, I haven't looked at it in a long time because, like I said,
Sure.
it's not where I get my influences anymore. But it used to be just like, here's a big giant bronze sculpture.
Sure.
Sculpture is huge and mammoth and that, instead of like I was making kind of personal,
Absolutely.
tangible, small things. So I think that, it opens it up to just putting your stuff out there and being seen. And so my Instagram is basically art and cats and dogs,
Well,
animals.
do you feel like sculpture in general, like the traditional sculptures of back, I don't want to say when you're younger because we're both still young, but are different now, like because of that influence? Has it expanded to be like on a more personal level with things, or?
I don't know if it's changed. I think it's just more, it really depends on where you're looking at it. I think
Okay.
that there's a lot of, like, in sculpture, it's kind of like, oh, well, like, that's not everybody's aspiring to make it. And I think
Sure.
there's some schools of thought that's like, oh, you really made it when you have a big bronze sculpture in the museum. Like, oh,
But well, and like you were saying, like it's not, like it doesn't have to be that though.
No, it
nowadays.
doesn't.
And so where else can we, like with your showings, I know you're doing it at Grow Hall, do you show other places?
Ipso Gallery in Sioux Falls.
Okay.
I show with them occasionally. I think the last big, I say big again, was that tall. The sculpture I made was for a show they had. It was called Ka-Chunk, where it was.
Okay.
They asked me to make kind of a vending machine
Okay.
to dispense other smaller works of art.
Okay.
So
I actually love that. We were at on a vacation at it was like an artsy place, kind of where you would go. It's a nature plus art place, and you could go, and for X amount of dollars, your vending machine would push out a canvas that somebody had painted.
Yeah.
And I love that idea, where instead of like your penny trinket or whatever that you get, that you go back with something that's
it was a great idea. Like they commissioned a few of us to make the machines.
okay.
Machines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a bunch of other artists were commissioned to make the smalls, they call them, so the things
Okay.
that were dispensed. It was really fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to go into the art field or sculpture, what kind of advice would you give them?
Oh my goodness. I would say just don't be afraid to do it. I think again there's kind of that like, oh, what am I going to do with it? I think art education in a lot of ways just helps you think and helps you look at things and helps you, it's just like opens up a different area of thought, of ways to kind of problem solve.
Sure.
And and not to be afraid of kind of making things, to address the aesthetics of things.
Well, I feel like now there's so many articles out there about even just like if you're working in a business setting, that they're looking at for people that are artists, that are being creative, and not necessarily like using sculpture, but maybe they do that in their personal lives, but being able to be creative and thinking outside the box, being able to think of solutions that aren't necessarily just from line A to line B kind of thing. So
Yeah,
no, I love that.
Creativity is, a skill that you should have in any field. Like even if you're
Absolutely.
like an accountant, to being creative, it just helps you in every aspect of your life. So really kind of honing in on it and addressing it, trying to build that as a skill is never a bad thing.
Well, and it's one of those that thinking that, like with art, like in your adulthood, you don't necessarily have to be producing professional level artist stuff to continue to enjoy creating art.
Yes.
And in any kind of whether it's music or theater, like you can still be involved in the
yeah.
arts and doing all that kind of stuff that isn't just being that artist in that magazine or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I do
yeah,
love art.
like here I like looking at the kids' art and talking to them about it. Like that's a lot of, you know, because they're still first and third grade. They're still kind of in that age range where they're making stuff kind of.
Right, they're not like they're not. Yeah, they're still thinking absolutely just creatively.
Yeah, they're just putting it out there. They're not worrying about what the product, the judgment, anything like that. So they make some pretty amazing stuff. That I look again. The same thing. Like when I look at Instagram stuff, I'm like, oh,
I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
So besides working at the club and being a professional artist, what else do you like to do?
I like to. Like you said, I like the arts. My husband and I, we really like, you know, we're trying to get out there more and like go to more operas and go to different kind of art things. We like to travel to go to different museums.
Sure.
Just like I tell some of my coworkers here, I'm like, oh, we're gonna go to a museum, and they're like, ooh.
Well, I think that museums. Well, no, I agree.
So
like
fun.
I think museums get a bad rap because. Do you have a favorite museum?
Oh, you know what? I really like. I think the Walker is pretty good. We just went to, I can't remember the name of it, the Milwaukee
Okay.
one. I can't remember the name. It has like a big fin on top. It was amazing.
Sure.
That was a really great one. So that one. Sometimes I'm like, oh, the last one I went to is my favorite. So right now I'm like, oh, the Milwaukee is my favorite.
And I don't know if you think that, but I think museums in general are trying to kind of evolve to be something that's not like the, well, I think they're having to evolve to not be like the stuffy old museum that you're thinking, you know, as maybe your parents forced you to do as a child or whatever.
Sure.
We were just down at, in Bentonville, Arkansas at the one down there, and Crystal Bridges. And they had a whole outdoor exhibit where it was all huge, larger-than-life sculptures and like Chihuly stuff outside, but then had interactive music with light art displays, and then they had like a tree which you talk into the speaker, and like the tree produced color based upon your voice, and just it was one of those. Even my kids were like, "This is amazing," kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there's a real kind of. They're trying to strive for the interactive to really get kids immersed into it, which I do think is a, you know.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like how many times can you be like, look at this, you can appreciate this. Or it's like, go touch it, because I know that's a hard separation, especially for like trying to get people involved. It's like just appreciate it from afar. And now I think that there's kind of a new school of thought of like, no, let's do something that you can touch, that you can interact in, that you can be part of.
Well, I know my kids especially have kind of loved going places, and kind of the bigger museums have an area where they have fake paintings of what it would feel like to touch all the paintings.
Yeah.
And so just thinking for a museum to think outside the box.
Sure.
To be able to do that kind of stuff. And so we as well go and visit museums when we go places, just because, man, you should be able to, there's so many great stuff. There's so much great stuff out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we like to get out as much as we can to go look at stuff like that and see shows, and, you know, but even just like smaller galleries, wherever, those are also really great. And again, just seeing things that, you know, it's hard to get in a museum, but that doesn't mean that's the only place where there's good art.
No, I think there is art everywhere. Like even in smaller towns, like there's some amazing stuff that you just have to kind of dig for it. So.
Yeah, we just had to go to the utilities place, and we're like, oh, look at these nice watercolors.
See?
So,
yeah.
Everywhere.
That's the way. So if we want to look at your artwork, where do we go to do that?
I have a website, KristynWeaver.com.
Okay. And you've been up at Grove Hall and shown up there, and it's not there right now, right?
No, I don't know if they're, I think they're doing
exhibition is
student
down.
exhibitions now.
Okay. And so any of your upcoming shows and your stuff would be up on your website then.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure that all 300 kids that you see a day, if there is bound to be a child at home that knows you. So
hopefully.
Yeah, but thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and thank you for creating in our community.
You're welcome.
Thanks.